Hi, today I want to talk about child support. Louisiana specifically. Anyone who's had problems with Louisiana's child support, well, I'm sorry. They're giving us a lot of grief right now. My husband has been paying child support religiously since 2009. And we have no problem with that because that, you know, is his responsibility for his child. Even though it's not being spent on his child and his child's not, you know. So, let's get to the issue at hand. Now, his emancipation date for child support was February 1st of 2024. Well, over the years, we have had a lot of issues. Um, One was court mandated health insurance. We had no problem with that. None. Until the mother decided, she's a very vengeful person. She shames most women when it comes to this stuff. Who needs the help from the father, you know? Um, the mother decided to go outside the network, not pay the co-payments like she was supposed to, not notify him of medical treatments and stuff like that. So, within a 2-year span of that, my husband's credit score went way down for the medical bills that she did not notify him of, nor did she pay her part of it. And it wasn't her taking the child anyways, it was other people that took the child to the doctors. That's a different story. We notified child support, and at the time we had, well, I shall say, he had a very diligent caseworker, Brandon, at the time. He went over the records, found that the mother was abusing the medical, going outside the network, not paying the co-payments, not notifying us of anything. So he took off the health insurance for the child because the mother had already was receiving Medicaid for the child on top of the health insurance from my husband. Then we got down to they were taking too much out of my husband's check. And Brandon, again, very diligent worker, asked for an audit. He got the audit. They had taken out $1,200 too much. For some reason, it kept happening. Even though they did pay my husband the $1,200, it kept happening. So they were sending my husband a check every 2 weeks for the money that they overdrew. And then Brandon, I guess, left child support. And since then, there's been one caseworker after another that is either overwhelmed, overworked, or really don't care. Your choice. Lately, it's been really bad. We had custody of his daughter. We filed child support office, let them know that, hey, we have her. What's our next step? And they said a court hearing. But it's going to take 4 months to get a court hearing. So we notified them in July of last year. Was it July of last year? Maybe. We didn't get a court hearing until January. So then, by the time January came around, the child went back to her mom. She did not like rules. Well, she didn't go back to her mom. She went back to a friend's house. She was 17 at the time. But my husband was still being held responsible for the 6 months child support payments that we were paying while we had Briley. Oops. So, in that time, we had bought her a car, a laptop, new clothing, anything that she needed. Her response was, "You never paid child support for me, you never took care of me, you never did anything," which is a different story. I understand that. So we went to the hearing in January. And this time the judge was frustrated, I guess, is the word. He complained about how child support was holding up the court proceedings. And in an hour and a half time, they only got to do one case because child support was not coordinated enough to get the proceedings going for all these people that they had there. When they finally got to my husband, it was said that he had to do the health insurance again, even though we explained, hey, the mom goes outside the network. She doesn't notify us. She doesn't pay the co-payments. And this time she even got a little bit smarter. When my stepdaughter was taken to the hospital, she went outside the network. This time she put her name with our address. For a medical bill, hospital bill. And I continually get notices for it. So, we let child support know, look, she's doing it again. She's abusing the medical. We're paying $26,000 a year for this medical. Now we have bills coming in. And we didn't get, the bare essential insurance. We really got decent insurance. So, they said there's nothing they can do. It's court ordered. It has to be. They don't mandate it. They don't watch it. And they could care less. It is our problem, not theirs. We should be reasonable enough to speak to the mother. But the mother, she said she don't care, which is, typical for her. Not saying all, but some. Now, there is a few issues. They have put in, reports out to the credit bureau, interception of lottery funds, because they said my husband was in arrears again. So, way back in the day, like 2011, I believe it was, my husband was furloughed. And it was for 2 months, but he went and got a different job to hold him over until his regular job, had work again. And that issue was settled with Brandon. And then this time around, we let them know that my husband switched jobs. they're lacking efficiency on taking care of that issue. Not to mention we had the child for that 6 months. They put him in arrears for $1,100 because they did not have a known employer, which they were notified. And it's easy for them to do because all they have to do is get in there and put his name in and his social, and it pops up. It's government. So now the caseworker, we're trying to explain to the caseworker, look, you took tax offset. I mean, it took it all, so why are you still reporting this to the refund office? She says it has to be that way for 6 months, blah, 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 blah. I didn't sign anything to, dispute it, and I already told her that. So, she's like, well, they're not taking enough out of his paycheck to cover the child support. And I'm like, well, there was never a problem with the other company that he worked with. So I notified the office here to let them know, hey, look, they're saying that there's not enough being taken out of his paycheck because we opted for garnishment. That way, it's out of our hands. It's paid. Can't nobody dispute it. It goes. The HR said, no, this is what they sent us. This is what we have to send them. Blah, 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 blah. Which, I realize that. I mean, it's common sense. So, the emancipation date was February 1st of 2024. The emancipation means that that's the end of the order. Unless, the child goes to school or something, or something like that, has a disability. But, my stepdaughter doesn't have a disability. Well, she does. It's her mouth. The schooling, she didn't go half of last year. So, that was null and void. She graduates this year. Yeah. So, like, trying to explain to child support, they're like, well, there's nothing we can do about it unless her mother signs off on it. Well, if you're waiting for mom to sign off on it, mom's not going to do it because that's what's paying mom's bills. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. So we're going around and around with these people saying, look, our obligation, well, his obligation is $63.96 for a year. Which isn't really, it's not much. I realize that. But anything that child wants or needs, she knows all she has to do is call her dad. And it's there. So, it goes. Within a 12-month span, it's supposed to be $63.96. The most arrears that he's been in is $1,200. They're saying $16. But there's other issues about that too. Well, in a 12-month span, he has paid over $11,000. That's almost double. And they're saying that he's still in arrears. Can't be. They noticed. They knew. And I mean, it was only like $39 difference on what should have been taken garnished from his wages this year. And they didn't rectify it. We notified the company. The company said that they have to go by what Louisiana sends them. So, got back with Louisiana, and they said, well, it's not our case, it's Tennessee's case, blah, blah, we're just handling it for them. So I got on the phone and I called Tennessee. There was a Tennessee case in 2012, I believe. And because the mom had to allow dad to see the child, which she's been hiding this child for umpteen years. Um, it goes, Tennessee understood, gave us a court hearing. We went to the court hearing. They mandated mediation. So they went to mediate, and mom didn't like what came back from mediation. She had to allow dad to be part of the child's life, and that dad was allowed to have the child every other weekend and then summer vacations. So, once again, she did what she usually does. She vacated the order and up and left and didn't tell anybody where she was. And according to Tennessee, she was supposed to let us know where the child was, where the child's living, medical and everything. She didn't like that, so she up and left. But the child still wasn't living with her. The child was going back and forth between her parents and some of her friends. So now, explaining to Louisiana, you're putting this off on Tennessee, and Tennessee said they have not had any dealings with this case since 2013. So who's responsible? Is it Louisiana? Is it Tennessee? I highly doubt it's Tennessee because I got the vacated order papers downstairs in my filing cabinet. So, Louisiana is telling me, no, no, no. You know, all these checks that we sent you, you know, we'll investigate because we weren't living in Florida at the time. We were living in California when they were sending these checks, and the checks were coming to Florida. So we notified them back in the day, and still nothing. I did get a hold of a caseworker that did send us paperwork. She said get it signed and notarized, which we did, and sent it back to get all this money, you know, from these checks that they were sending us for a refund on him paying too much. Never received anything back. So the new caseworker now, she's like, no, these checks were cash, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, I got the paper stating that they weren't. Oh, your husband's still in arrears. No, it took me 20 minutes. That's what I do for a living. You know, I deal with paperwork and auditing and all that. States that, no, he is not in arrears. Matter of fact, you owe him again. You know, we were nice enough because we know, you know, health insurance is important for a child. We've kept this on, but then lo and behold, she must have used that, so now we're in the hole for a couple grand there again. Not to mention what we pay out for insurance for her. Child support says that nope, we're not responsible for what she does with it. We're just there to tell you that you have to have it. Legally, you have to have it. It's court ordered. Well, if it's court ordered, who is watching this? Is this, you know, here you go. And if you are, you know, what do I want to call it? A decent person who holds no grudges or resentment or anything is going to use it responsibly. Then you got the ones that are vindictive, evil, like his ex-wife. They abuse it. They literally abuse it. I have shown this new caseworker, look, these are the bills we're getting. Her name's on it. Her name's on our address. She used our address. We own our house. Is this going to be a lien put on our house that we just bought because she wants to be vindictive? Who regulates this health care? We have no say-so. We've called, the HR, and HR says you have to go through, child support, and child support says they have no dealings with it except saying that you have to have it. Well, to what extent? Is it to the extent that, my husband quits his job and says, psst, oh well, if they're going to take the house because she, dictates medical. And believe me, it was a considerable amount of medical bills. Um, Child support didn't care. It seems like when we try to explain to them, it's whatever his ex-wife wants. Okay, I get it. I have 4 children of my own. I'm divorced from my first husband. But I'm not typical when it comes to that. I told him, look, you want to see the kids? Call my mom. I'll drop them off at my mom's house. He's known to flee with his children, too. That's why, certain things happen. Um, he did that with his first kids. Didn't do it with mine because he knew better. I told him, keep his money. I don't want none of it. They're my kids. I've been raising them since I've had them. You want to see them? You want to be a dad? Then call my mom's house. I'll drop the kids off. This one here, she didn't want this child to start with. She has given this child to her mom since child was 2 months old. Child got older, grandma decided, it's time for her to have a life, which can't blame her. I have my own grandkids. I understand that factor. Then she started dropping them off with strangers, leaving them with, guys that she hooks up with, or his family. People that we're not aware of. Um, we explained this. We called DCF, OCY, I don't know what you call it in Louisiana, but Department of Children's Services. We got a call from his ex-wife's father saying, hey, need to do something, child's in danger, blah, blah. So we called DCF because our hands are kind of tied when it comes to that. We also called child support. And their thing is that's not something that they deal with. I do, however, know that, like Pennsylvania, when it comes down to child support, I'm not saying that Pennsylvania is any different, but they're a little bit more diligent when it comes to child support. They don't just take one parent's word over the other. Just because you're a male, you have no word. They literally have asked my ex-husband's ex-wife for receipts and stuff for the money that he paid into child support because it wasn't being used for the kids. The kids didn't have anything, but that's a different story. But my thing is while we were sitting in the courtroom in Louisiana this last time, it went in the manner of, okay, I'm watching this. I can't believe I'm seeing this. Not that the judge had participated, but I understand that he has to go by what's in front of him, what he's reading. It's a quick in out kind of court case thing. So we sat there and we watched. My husband is a black man. you know, middle-aged, responsible, has a good job. Um, he has no criminal background. But I noticed that on the documents that were being read in the courtroom, that a lot of the, let's be politically correct here, Caucasian people that got up there, it was a different scenario. Not by the judge, but by the paperwork. And when the African American men, the black males, got up there, it was a different story. Different wordings on the case reports. Didn't seem all so. I can't say that. But I can say that my husband feels like he has been discriminated against not only for being black, but being a male. And I've got to agree with him. You know, some of these women, I'm ashamed to say, make a lot of us women look bad. My mom didn't receive child support for us two girls when we were growing up. Not to say that my dad wasn't in my life, he was. They had other arrangements, I guess. Not my business because I was a child at the time. When it came to my kids, well, that was my business. My thing is okay, you want to be a dad, then you call my mom. And you can come see the kids. Not a problem. Um, I really didn't want anything from him. My daughter, I have two of them. One collects both of them collect child support. The one she claims for her older son. The other three, well, their dad's a deadbeat, so it doesn't really matter. Um, she doesn't get anything from them. The other one, she claims she gets for her oldest son. All her kids are from the same dad, but she doesn't claim for the other three. The money that she gets from the dad for the one child has to go back to the dad. That's their agreement, which I don't. That's their business. I'm not happy about it. So, like, my thing is anyone else having problems with, Louisiana's court rulings when it comes to child support? And it's not so much court rulings, because when I've asked the name of the judge, because I couldn't remember it, and I don't have the paper. Well, I do have the paperwork. I just gotta find it. The caseworker avoids that question. She avoids answering it completely, 100%. So, I know, call the courthouse, and I have a call out for that. My thing is who do you go to next? Well, I called the NAACP because Louisiana is screwing around with my husband's credit report. They keep, you know, putting him in for arrears, and we had went through the credit bureau before, and they have taken and looked into the case, and yep, they omitted it from his credit report. Not to say it's not still somewhere where somebody can find it, but yes, they did do that. Tax office, the IRS. I called them because they took two in a 6 month period, offset of $1,600. So when I talked to Louisiana about it, they said, well, it's a 6 month wait, blah, blah, blah. No, see, you want your money, you take it. And when you take too much, you take your time on sending it back. So, what's next in line? Do I want to wait 6 months? No. Why should we? And if we do, then I want interest. Just like a credit card. 19.9%. Yeah. And I want it compounded too, because you waited and you knew. And you knew it was wrong doing it. If, my husband wasn't to pay, boy, they'd be all over him with no problem. But when they're the ones who are not doing the paying, it's a different story. It's at their leisure when they can get around to it. Just like, you know, my husband being furloughed, we were told in the beginning of this in 2009, at the age of 5, they will review it and mom has to hand over, documents of her income and household expenses. Well, she didn't do it. She didn't do it in the beginning like they asked. She never has. And I don't care if you can pull it up on the damn computer. If my husband has to be compliant, then she should be compliant. If she doesn't comply, then I guess, where's the responsibility? My thing is what's good for the goose is good for the gander. My husband's complied with everything that child support and the judges have set forth. She has not. She doesn't show up for hearings. She doesn't comply with the paperwork. But yet, nothing. So, I think that child support, now I've dealt with Louisiana, I've never really dealt with anybody else. I do know about Pennsylvania, I do know about Florida. I think Louisiana needs to reconstruct their duties, in the sense of, hey, when one of the parent, whether it be non-custodial or custodial, has an issue, deal with that issue right up front, right then and there. Not, hey, it's got to wait. Oh, I'm waiting for this. Oh, well, they said no. I don't know. Or they just tell you outright, nothing we can do about it. It's out of our hands. Well, I'm sorry. If you're the ones who dictate this court order, then you should follow up and make sure that's complied with on both sides. Not one side, but both sides. Now, my husband didn't want to do this in Louisiana because he knew the president up there when it comes to, a white mother and a black father. I said, no. I said, times nowadays, it, shouldn't be like that. It's 2024. I get it. I knew it when I had my kids, the issues I, was hoping they had changed, and then it was in the 80s. It's no different now than when it was in the 80s, I guess. It's in certain places. Like Charles, Louisiana would be one of them. So, like, here, I don't know, maybe somebody has some suggestions on how to deal with Louisiana. The mother, who has not really had custody of the child, has signed off custody, guardianship, and everything else. I have the court papers for that, too. Didn't see fit to notify Dad of it. It goes accountability. The mother was still collecting food stamps, welfare payments, support payments for a child that she doesn't even have. And yes, I do have documentation to back all that up. So, where's her accountability? Where is DCF, child support, or anything holding this mother accountable for her actions? What other person is going through this hell? Well, I don't know, but I'm tired of arguing with these people. So we have talked to an attorney it is hard to get uh, a case of defamation against a government office. So they have came up with other things like libel, which is almost defamation, um, misaligned character. But worst of all, it's going to be more or less a civil suit. And when we were asked who is it that we want held responsible, accountable for, well, first one who started it was the child's mother. Because from the get-go, when they split up, he's, giving her money, sent her money. And then when he wanted to see his daughter, she decided, well, we're going to court. So it goes, somebody has to be held responsible. The accountabilities. My husband held up his end. And he's the one who's getting, reported to different agencies because people don't know how to count. Simple addition and subtraction. Maybe a little multiplication. Something we all learn in elementary school. So, like I tried to explain to the caseworker a couple weeks ago. Right now, I'm up and I'm moving around a little bit now. I was diagnosed with cancer, so throughout, I've had 2 surgeries since. Now I had to start treatment next week, so I'm not going to be up moving around. So, I'm trying to explain to this lady we want to get this over and done with. I don't have time. I don't have the faculties to really deal with this crap right now. She told my husband to have me send everything that I did, which I have all the paperwork from when this first started. All the payments, pay stubs, tax offsets that they take without having to. All the times that they've turned them into lottery inception, tax offset, um, insurance stuff. So when the attorneys asked who we wanted to go after, we specifically said the mother, the caseworker, and the child support division. If they're going to hold us accountable, they should be held accountable for their part. And going after somebody who has, good standing at work, but, with my husband's job, that credit report has a lot to do with his job. He has to have good credit to keep this job. They don't care. They even said that. I have all the little messages sent back and forth between me and the caseworker. It's just come down to the point where I'm tired. I'm tired of watching my husband feel like, he can't get anywhere because they're holding him accountable for something that he's already paid his dues and he's still paying his dues. And he doesn't deny that he has a responsibility to the child. I'm tired because I'm watching them do this to my husband. And all the stuff that his ex-wife has pulled and said and done. I mean, hell, she even changed his address to Louisiana. He's never lived in Louisiana. But he had utilities in his name. She used his ID and stuff. No one seems to say, look, this is our department. We can handle this. We can deal with this. We'll tell you how to go about it. None of them. Not one soul. We pay taxes. She didn't, but we do. But she has the protection and my husband doesn't. I would like to see Louisiana finally step up to the plate and say, hey, I'm sorry. We didn't get an apology the first time that we proved them wrong. This time it's even worse. And all they can say is, that's out of our jurisdiction. We don't have anything to do with that. Well, you ordered it. You have to watch it. That's your responsibility. That's what you're getting paid for. That's not what I'm getting paid for. Why am I doing your work and handing you it over so you can overlook it and say, hey, you know what? You're right. It took me 2 days. And I was sick at the time, so 2 days. Shouldn't take anybody more than a couple of hours. And really not even more than an hour to add figures together. And come up with a subtotal. Not that hard. They get paid. They're government people. They get paid. They get paid for vacation. I don't get paid for vacation. I'm sorry. I'm not on your payroll. You want to put me on your payroll, then we can figure something out. But guarantee you probably wouldn't like it. A lot of people would enjoy that, you know, Louisiana is stepping up to the plate and doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm sorry, what do you do for 8 hours of the day? I realize you're overloaded. I realize that caseworkers are quitting left and right, maybe because they're tired of getting yelled at. Maybe because they're underpaid. I don't know. What I do know is Louisiana sucks when it comes to child support. They cannot keep up with their work. They may have a lot of problems because there's a lot of frustrated people out there. Only because they don't take the time and say, hey, look, I understand you have an issue. I truly do. Let's sit down, let's discuss this, let's get it solved immediately. But they don't do that. They give you a message on a message board. And they tell you, oh, we'll look into it. Oh. A month later and they still ain't resolved it. I sent them all the checks and stuff that weren't cashed. And they still, a month and a half later, still can't fix it. So, who do you call? Well, I called the NAACP. I'm also calling some other attorneys that I was suggested to call. Do you go higher up in the state? I don't know. Do I trust that state with the way that company, with that division? I don't think so. My uncle was a judge, a very high-standing judge in Pennsylvania. And my dad grew up with Tom Ridge. I put a call out. See who he says to go to. Because I don't think anybody in Louisiana really does give two shits about it. I mean, what is there to do? I can sit here and bitch. I can bitch at the caseworker. Is that going to do us any good? No. Is that going to resolve our problem? No. thinking of going to the news. But the thing is we're in Florida. We're not in Tennessee, or we're not in Louisiana or Tennessee. Would they take that news report? Probably. There's a couple of news reporters down here that would love to probably exploit that too. But, you know, at some point in the line, at a time, you have to kind of draw a line because, you know, you got to think, well, this is all going to come back on the child too, so got to be a little bit nicer about the issue, even though, you know, she has her mom's attitude, but that's not her fault. That's her mom taught her to be that way. I don't know. If anybody has any suggestions, please let us know. This is a little longer than what I had expected it to be. I really didn't think about it. I was more irritated when I put this on. But if you have any suggestions about how to deal with Louisiana child support, especially Lake Charles, please let us know. If you're having issues with them, please let us know. You know, get on the same page this way. You know, if we succeed, maybe we can help you. If you succeed, maybe you can tell us how you went about doing it. If you're a black male getting discriminated against, or a black female, let the NAACP know that Louisiana is doing this. That way there's more than just a handful of people that are complaining about this issue. I mean, gotta really contemplate actions. I mean, we can only do so much with what we have, and if everybody who's having the same issue come together, maybe it'll change things, hopefully. I mean, I haven't seen it change in a while, but, you know, hey, there's always hope. Well, you guys, leave me a comment or something if you have any ideas, suggestions, or anything else. I appreciate that. Thank you.